Hello Tarot fans, and welcome to another edition of Sicx Tarot. I'm your fantastic host Sicx. Thank you very much for watching. I would also like to wish you all a happy Pride month. Pride kind of snuck on me, so I don't actually have any LGBT plus content as of yet, but I'm going to try and plan to get a bit of content like that out. But in the meantime, why don't you join me in a really nice unboxing video. And also, if you are new and do like this content, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, leave a comment below and follow me on the social medias. So today we'll be doing an unboxing of the Muse Tarot by Chris Anne. Now this is published by Hay House. I don't have a lot of Hay House tarot decks, but I do like their quality. And so what we're going to do first, I'm going to whip out the old tape measure. So we're looking at just short of 5 inches by just over 3 inches. So we're looking at about 8 centimeters by 13. So the thing that kind of grabbed my attention with this is the fact it's kind of got the realistic photos kind of spliced in with artwork over the top and underneath. So I've got a little price tag there. So that's how much that cost me there. I got it from my friend's store. Now you can already tell at the bottom here that the artwork does seem kind of photographic and surreal, so that's pretty cool. I just grabbed my Kniffy. Kids, don't try this at home without a parent around or a guardian or any other newspaper. It's a joke for newspaper enthusiasts. Just have a quick unwrap. Right, so the box itself feels quite smooth, which is always quite nice. I don't mention this a lot, but I always sometimes like to consider how a tarot box looks, like on your display case. Now this one, I think it just as it seems to show more of the card artwork rather than the logo itself. This might not necessarily stand out amongst the others, where they tend to be more plain two-toned styles, but still looks really it does look quite nice and pastels. So box. So okay, so first off we've got the little bit of paper rather than like wrapped in more packaging. So we've got a nice thick book. This book's quite thick, which is good. We have a photo of Chris Anne there as well. Let's have a quick look through the book. So there doesn't appear to be any pictures of the cards in the book, but relatively long descriptions of each card as they appear in the book. So yeah, it's all card. There doesn't seem to be any spreads. Doesn't seem to be showing any spreads, but sometimes you don't need them. So yeah, there doesn't look to be any spreads in here, but so you've got the major. Yeah, so you've got information about it, how to use them. But no, it doesn't appear to have any spreads in there, but I could be wrong. But I do mainly focus on the decks. Nice little message inside. And it says, "There is magic in truth. There is truth in my veins, where my blood speaks in soothe, and my mind in no reigns." I may have read that incorrectly, but that's what we've got there. But yeah, the inside of the book looks quite nice as well. I always like it when they have little messages in the lid of the box, similar to the Modern Witch Tarot. Let's take that out with there we go. So obviously with box, and there's the bottom of the box as well. It's quite nice. So when I tend to get stuff from Hay House, the boxes seem to be very thick and sturdy, so you don't really have to worry about storage or if you're travelling, because the cards themselves will be safe because the boxes are quite thick. The back of the cards have a really nice floral design around the edges, and I think it's a flower to kind of look like one of the chakras. But yeah, so from a distance it kind of looks like an eye, like you'd have on the Illuminated Tarot, I think it is. It's a deck I don't have yet, but still very nice and lovely. The cardstock feels the good standard of thick. So slightly thicker than the standard Scarabeo, but not too thick that it doesn't feel like you could shuffle them. They feel that they spread quite well. This is probably a very bad way to do it, but yeah, they feel like they spread quite smoothly. So if you do struggle, if you do like to spread decks rather than shuffle, this would be quite nice. So now we start with the Fool. So obviously we're I'll just zoom in a little bit. There we go. Right, so from the start we have so we've got the Fool, which looks more like a photo than a drawing. In the desert, got a nice ladder going from the universe, or she's walking into the horizon where the universe is. The thing I've also noticed, I think is quite nice, is the fact that you've got the numbers in figures in the corner here with the name. I think that looks quite nice, especially in the desert. It's traditionally mountains, sometimes with a dog. But alright, so next we have the Magician. Okay, so the Magician is letting all the universe into their head, and you've got the 4 colours here, which should probably represent the 4 suits that we have there. So we've got the Priestess. Okay, I like that. So we've got Celtic runes across there, which is interesting. We've still got the crescent moon as well, and her face kind of being covered in a shroud, but it looks less like a religious garb and kind of more like a spiritualistic one. So next we have the Empress, who is on the cover, who is projecting all of the planets from her heart, well, at least from the centre of her chest, and around. Oh no, I thought they were. I'm not quite sure if they're fruit or just extra spiritual planetary bodies. Probably other stars. Next we have the Emperor, who for a split second I thought that was like sheet music, but no, the Emperor is kind of looks like the Emperor. It looks like it's the representation of balance between what's going on, but what's so above, so below, sort of feel to them. So that not necessarily a classic, not the original style. But as I said, I always like seeing stuff that mix it up. So now we have the Hierophant. Okay, that's an interesting take. So you've still got one of their worshippers or followers in the foreground there. But the Hierophant being someone on like a plinth or something like that looks a lot better than just sitting in a church, really. And I kind of like the representation of the sunset there, and the sunrise come from her head, which is pretty cool. Next we have the Lovers, so I have to take a look at that one. Once again, very different. So not only do you still have the representation of the angel at the top, and you've got these nice a lotus flower at the bottom and another flower that I don't know the name of, but the fact that the masculine and the feminine are on opposite ends, not really noticing each other, that's a very interesting take, and a nice bit of symmetry there, kind of like the mirror split. The Chariot, that has a very kind of epic feel to it, with the horses at the bottom and being held by ostensibly strings, which looks quite nice, and the fact her lower half is once again more stars, and obviously not to mention all the nice triangles in the bottom there. Strength, kind of a nice kind of classic version. I also like the fact the infinity symbol is in her hand and connected by these dots. Nice bit of pareidolia there. Love the little stripes coming back from the lion's mouth there. The Hermit, I like this one because sometimes the Hermit is either in a cave or in a mountain, but in a desert there's not. I don't come across many hermits in the desert, at least in tarot anyway. So now I've got just the wheel, and it's the same person going through the cycles, which is interesting because it can vary depending on the artists. Okay, we've got Justice. This one is really interesting with the flowers around the neck, hands on the face. Not quite sure what's going on up here, but maybe that's the. Oh, I see. That is the representation of balance. One hand's in the light, one hand's in the shadow. There is an interesting look of balance there. So next we have the Hanged Man. Oh, sorry, the Hanged Muse. My apologies. So you've got the Hanged Muse hanging off of a wire with near a nice pyramid with an eye and another gateway. So now on to most people's favourite card. Got the Death card as a moth, the moth is represented in this quite a lot. When it's an insect, it's usually a moth. And got a nice little spider web at the bottom there, and these women here. I was the same person, but also like the faces above and below as well. Okay, next we have Temperance. This doesn't feel more like a balance. This does feel more like the High Priestess meets the Wheel. So, because you still have the phases, but it doesn't necessarily have that feeling of balance as it does with some of the others. So next we have the Devil. Once again, I like the symmetrical pattern in the middle. So you've got the masculine and the feminine at the top and the Devil below. Devil looks pretty cool, by the way. Do like that hair. Do like the hair. The Tower. That's a nice way to do that one. I think this is probably going to be one of my favourite towers. Does look really cool with the destruction happening below rather than above. So it looks like the lightning is hitting up and then crumbling stuff below. So it's even more kind of from out of nowhere. Next we have the Star. If I'm honest, this could either be, you could have this as the star or the sun. It doesn't really have that feeling of either, but it's once again still a nice picture. So we've got the moon, nice pink moon there. I think we had a pink moon last year. But yeah, the statues at the bottom here is kind of interesting as well, instead of having two pillars, and they still have different paths, one white, one black. Okay, so this does feel like the sun, but I still don't think the other felt like the stars to me. But as I said, this is more of a personal opinion here. But person here doing yoga, quite cool. This is just a very nice, vibrant, and very kind of uplifting card here. Then we've got the Awakening, which would be Judgment. So yeah, I can kind of see that kind of opening yourself up to the universe and having a better understanding of your cosmic place. Now we have the world cosmos. Okay, so from the angle because I'm kind of looking at it from this sort of angle as I do this. So these does have that look of this being wings. And so obviously from a slight distance it looks like it's an angel holding the world, but that is her arms, and she's also kind of rooted to the ground or universe. Not quite fully sure what's happening there. So now we move on to the Ace of Inspiration. So I'm going to hazard a guess. I say inspiration is meant to be wands. So we shall go with that, because I think one of them is emotions, which would be cups. So I'm going to go with this being wands. So then you've got, oh. Alright, yeah, this does have a nice feeling to it here, with the nice bright cut, nice orange and orangey yellow, and the rainbow going in or out of the head. So okay, so we've got someone being inspired by what's further out. So this one's quite jarring considering how the rest of the deck looks. So we've got, as I said, this does feel like it's supposed to be wands, but we'll keep going through. But I I like dominoes. I'm quite a fan of dominoes. 4, yes, this definitely has to. This definitely probably is Swan's Nail. So this kind of has a. It doesn't have like the standard structure of people holding up staffs, but it does have that kind of feeling of support. And also, I've noticed there's still different colours, so it's still not just a gathering of the same type of people. These are gatherings of 4 different types. Got 5. Yeah, I like this, and the fact that none of them really feel like they're working together. They've kind of got their own idea. They don't want to be involved at all. They don't want to work with them. They're doing their best, and they're not putting as much effort in or doing something else. So I do like that. That does feel pretty good. 6. I'll see from there. That does have a kind of, not necessarily a welcome home sort of feeling as the traditional one, but it does have that feeling of, not really a sense of victory, but just more of a good sense of pride and achievement. We've got the 7. This looks really cool. The kind of design here, not necessarily in respects of the colour, but the design of this image reminds me very much of the Fountain Tarot, with kind of with all these parallel lines and hexagonal. I think I'm using the right word, hexagonal. But yeah, so I do like that one. It's quite good. It feels like you're pushing back, fighting back for what you need. And you've got the 8. An interesting photograph of the actual sun. Looks pretty cool. And what looks like marathon sprinters in heels. So that's kind of cool. Then we've got a 9. Loving all this. That does look pretty cool. The background looks quite interesting with the statues with the conical heads. Nice little curve there. I don't know if it's supposed to be their hair or how their headdress is, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it has a barrier, but it does feel like you've got to work hard to get beyond this. So next we have the 10, which is cows carrying large jugs. So this has a feeling of more monotony and having to push through rather than it being really difficult work, I guess. So we have the page. I love the little colour patch here and this whole bit with their hair, and it's quite good. And the cat as well with a nice little haloed head. This doesn't have the classic feel, but this one has a good feeling with it. Next we have the knight. I love the little fireworks. I love the kind of what they've done with the mane kind of going off as if it's fire. I do like that. It does look really nice. And then we have the queen. Now I'm always a fan of pyramids, as those who always see some of my Egyptian stuff in the background, some of my other shots. Yeah, I do like me a good pyramid, and it does have that connection to the universe with this string, but not necessarily a power over it. It's just more like a understanding that some people might not necessarily have. And Muse of Inspiration, which I'll have to hold this way. This makes me think of a Pink concert. I don't know why. Pink ! IK. But yeah, that does look quite cool. I was not expecting that at all. But yeah. Actually, this being landscape does give the card a bigger feeling. So I do like that. So next up we have Ace of Emotions. So this, very strong aquatic feel to it. So we definitely know this is going to be cups. I love the little fishes in the background swimming around, and these 2 women. Now I think with a lot of the doubles these are all the same person, but it does have that cool ballet sort of, they're having a good time swimming around. So next we have the 3, and once again this has like a 3 phases, and I do like the phases. It is kind of cool, but I guess this kind of feels a bit off when you've seen it a few times for a deck already. But that's just me being a bit nitpicky. Okay, so next we have the 4. Now, first of all, I like this bit here, and I like the fact that there's 3 cups, and there isn't actually a sign of the 4th. Okay, so next we have the 5. And this does have that, you know, this doesn't have as negative a feeling as the 5 tends to have in traditionally, but I do like the fact that they're taking the water from the bottom here and adding it to the top. So it does have that feeling of they're feeding into their own negativity. So next we have the 6. Let me just put it down there. Okay, so with the 6, yeah, so this one's a good representation of it. So they're holding a mirror to how they once were as a child, and kind of there's a lot of regret and kind of lamenting in this, which isn't what you tend to see with the traditional version. I mean, I know I shouldn't always keep comparing stuff to the traditional, but well, I like to do so. So next we look at 7. So with 7 we have lots of different options of goldfish. Now, I do like gold. You know, I'm not necessarily. I don't dislike goldfish, but I've never been a fish owner. But I do like the fact that all these little fish have these little, like, that one's got a little reef on its head, that one's got a little kind of ruff, that one's got a shark fin, little bits like that. That's quite cool. So it does have the same feeling, the same feel to it, but it's very minimal in how it's doing it. As like most of what's happening is more here, and the rest of it is kind of more plain, but still pretty cool. Okay, that's a very interesting 8. So they're walking off and maybe walking straight into the abyss. Basically, I think it's more a feeling of walking into the unknown rather than just walking onto pastures new. Now we have the 9. And this is very interesting. So they've basically got either shellfish, yeah, it looks more like shellfish, like oysters. They've still got a lamp in there, which sometimes I like it when they have a lamp. I think the Deviant Moon has a lamp in their one. But it's quite interesting with all the kind of water coming around from the sides and all the threads at the top coming down as well. So then we have the 10. So rather than a rainbow, it's this nice cool pattern, which I think is quite nice, very different. And the top corners having kind of like, and on the bottom actually, kind of having that feeling of like a net curtain, and everyone's at the bottom. Are these people? Yeah, they look like women in their 90s, but they're enjoying themselves and they're kind of reveling in all of this. So then we've got the page with the kind of octopus bottom part with all the fishes around them. I think it's a nice little addition. So once again, this is very different compared to how most of these decks are. So. Then we've got the knight, so you've got the pale blue horse, with nice splash of water there. I like the little water effects there as well. And the shell at the bottom, and the background's quite cool. I do like that one. Then you've got the Queen of Emotions, who is very well decorated, and that's very ornate. A lot of colours there. I like the correlation with like nice dark purples and bright pinks and oranges. And this little lady up there who's just kind of looking across to the horizon with seagulls. There's kind of a lot going on here. And then we have Muse of Emotions. And they look like they are partaking in... Yeah, I think, I'm not quite sure. That's either a shellfish or a really large bar of soap. Probably neither. But I do like the starfish. This nice shape. The blue throughout this as well is quite good. Which is a very interesting deck. So, the Ace of Voice. So I'm probably going to say swords for this. I love the hair. Actually, I'm making it swords because of the kind of like, I think they're like prayer flags, I think. So 2 of Voices. Yeah, that's definitely a swords. This one's quite nicely done. Once again, very reminiscent of the Fountain Tarot. In how it's designed. Yeah, so you've got I've got 2 ladies here, and this one woman at the back with presumably her hands bound, and having to go to one path. So it's less like having to pick between 2 tough decisions, and more like feeling stuck to make the one decision. And you've got the 3, kind kind of okay, so you've kind of got like someone's crying there from both parts of their one eye there and not there, and the person by the door is broken up into three separate pieces by these lights here, and the other two drops on the door. So yeah, this does have a very strong Three of Swords sort of feel to them. Now the 4 looks quite good. I love the idea of, I'm going to rest now, I can finally relax, and then all of these beams of light coming out your eyes like Cyclops from X-Men. I do quite like that. That's pretty cool. So now we've got the 5, and there's a lot going on in here really. Being handed olives from above, and it feels less like to the victor goes the spoils, and just more lots of feels like a lot more of indecision about what to do with what's being given. Next we have the 6. Yeah, I can see that kind of being the voyage. Someone's being assisted across the water once again, so this person's on their journey and being taken across by, instead of a ferryman, by like the universe itself. And then we have the 7. Not quite how you usually see the 7 of Swords. If you're an intuitive reader, this will be a very tricky one for you, definitely. We have the 8, which kind of has a kind of cyber feeling to it, which I think is kind of neat. As I said, now because the artwork style throughout this feels, the art style is very consistent in its, not inconsistencies, but it's still very consistent, even though some of the art is very is different. So we've got a 9. So this is a very positive 9 compared to some of the other 9 of Swords you do come across. So this is feel like rest rather than nightmares or difficulty sleeping. So next we have the 10. This does feel very classic in its style, but a good modern take on it. So they're still pierced by the 10, but not in such a graphic way. So we've got the Ace, with kind of old style, with kind of like an old retro look. That's the word I'm looking for, retro. Nice little retro look on them. Then you've got a nice Pegasus as the knight, still with these I believe Tibetan prayer flags. If I've gotten that wrong, I do apologise. The Queen. Now, I am a fan of crows, as some of you have probably seen before. And if you haven't seen before, I've done tarot reviews about crow-themed decks, so give those a watch. They'd either be in reviews or unboxing. Anyway, yeah, this one looks really cool. I think this is probably one of my favourites from this. I think this is probably one of my favourite cards now, just because it looks so cool and artistic. And then we have the Muse of Voices, who just really likes playing with kites on a pier. Oh, here's something I've noticed. You've got the triangular symbol of air. So I'm guessing the other two have already had their symbols as well. I didn't really notice. So last we have Ace of Materials. Called so because as the coins or pentacles are usually about the physical, so this would make sense to call this the materials. So we start off with a nice classic, with them balancing 2 objects of the same size, one higher, one lower. So this one's kind of more of a classic version, and I still like it, and it's still a very nice artistic version of it as well. You still know what you're looking at with this. The 3, this has more of a teamwork sort of look to it. Still trying to work your way, still trying to start from the bottom and work your way up. Then we have the 4, and this doesn't necessarily have that as big a feeling of covetedness as the traditional does, but if you look for it, you can see it, which I know doesn't mean a lot, but it has that feel, even though it's not overly so. So next we've got the 5, and this definitely has that standard feeling of the 5, with the temple of some description, just taking in everything and just leaving you outside. So next we've got the 6. Now, this is still being spread out, but not in the same manner. So this is more like spreading positivity out in the world rather than to specific groups, I guess. Like an all over thing, really. So next we've got the 7. Now, that she doesn't really look like she's growing them herself, as it is shown usually in some of the classic ones, but it does seem like she's kind of waiting for them to be ready. The 8 looks bloody amazing. Looks like she's doing a couple of yo-yo tricks there as well. If you were a 90s kid like me, pro-yos were everywhere, so it kind of reminds me of pro-yos. I can't remember the name of the bloke who was a pro-yo master in England. But yeah, the 8 does look quite good, and they look quite busy as well. Next we have the 9. Where's my... No, that's a different deck. But yeah, the 9 kind of basking almost in all of this, and all of these roses being handed out by the once again, I think this is probably more of a universe thing, but still being handed, and the dress kind of matching the background, I think is pretty cool as well. And then we have the 10. This kind of has a very druidic sort of feel to it, just kind of everyone round in a circle looking at this really large rose tree. But I do like that one. Okay, then we've got the page. Now I like how the rose is added in this, and part of her hat as well, and all of her dress. I can almost smell it, you know. I can almost smell these roses. Then you've got the knight. I think that's one of the succulents, which is always a weird thing, calling an inedible plant a succulent. Like tempting fate, to be honest. But nice little wreath around the horse's neck there. Then we've got the Queen of Materials. I don't know. She still has that big. She still has that big energy about her, kind of like a strong confidence. The sort of person doesn't have to say they're confident; they just emit it. And then last we have the Muse of Materials, and it doesn't appear to have another triangle near the centre. But if you can see it, let me know, because I can't quite. But yes, this one has a very kind of comforting sort of air to it as well. Yeah, I quite like this. So, in total, I would say this isn't really a deck for newbies, but if you definitely want to have a deck that's very different in style, this would be perfect. These kind of they kind of move around with what they want to use from the traditional. Some of these are nice and classic, most of them are not. So if you do like a deck that goes by its own rules, but still has a very strong feminine kind of vibe to them, then I definitely recommend this. So once again, if you do like this, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Follow me on the social medias linked down below, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.